This is what it looks like to play traffic controller rather than firefighter for your marketing operation. This marketing team was honestly just overwhelmed. Requests were coming in from everywhere, whether that be Slack, email, those hallway conversations. Everything felt urgent, but nothing was actually getting prioritized. So the team kept starting projects without enough information to actually finish them. So we built a system that put a filter in front of all of those inbound requests for them. Let me show you exactly how it works. So to give us a little bit of context, let's talk about why marketing teams lose control of their pipeline. From what I've seen, the problem isn't necessarily too many requests, though there may be a lot of requests, and that's half of the problem right there. The other half of the problem is that it seems like every single request automatically becomes a project. Because we may not have a structured intake process in place, requests can arrive from different places with different amounts of information. If we don't have an organized way to triage every single one of those inbound requests, the work may start without actually having all the information needed to do so. That's why we see teams chasing requesters back and forth to answer questions that could have been answered up front. Without having a filter in place, there's no prioritization. Everything looks and feels and becomes urgent, but in reality, that means nothing actually is. When requests aren't structured, it's your team that absorbs the costs of everyone else's lack of planning. So here's how you set up the traffic controller that triages all of those inbound requests before they hit your team's work queue. The intake form is the beginning of the whole process that allows work to enter the queue. So here's the campaign request form that replaces all of those ad hoc conversations, Slack threads, email threads, and gives you one place to collect all of the information about a particular request from the external stakeholders in one fell swoop. So we can enter our campaign name, the campaign type, the brand, the campaign priority, the channels that this particular campaign is going to be set and delivered on. We can also set our timeline, so the requested launch date and requested end date of the campaign are gathered here up front. And just because we're asking for this information up front doesn't mean we're committing to these dates being the launch and the end date of the campaign. We're going to set our own actual launch and end dates in the back end once this comes through our holding pen. So the campaign brief and the total budget round this out. The total budget allows us to see for every single one of our campaigns, how are we doing in terms of our spend, and comparing the spend to the actual revenue is what gives us the return on investment numbers. So once we submit this campaign, it will show up in our holding pen view within the marketing manager interface of our marketing command center. All the requests show up on the left over here, grouped by their status. And as we click into any of these individual campaigns, we'll see all of those details that came from that initial intake form. We can set the manager here so that there's always a single point of contact for every single one of our campaigns. And then we'll be able to see all the rest of the details like the campaign brief, the requested launch and end dates of the campaigns. And like I said, just because we get those dates from the requester doesn't mean we're going to commit to them. We'll be able to set our own campaign launch and end dates here. So if I want to, instead start this in August of 26, I can do that. And I can also set a different end date. So if I want to set this on the 5th of September instead of August, I'll set that here. And we'll see the days to launch and the launch quarter are going to update automatically for us, so we can get a quick snapshot of where this falls in the timeline. We can also set up some internal notes that allow us to give any additional context we need in the back end as the managers of this particular campaign. And we can also send notes to our requester. And this is essential when it comes to sending these particular campaigns back for more information, or when it comes to rejecting those campaigns. So if I want to approve this campaign, I can go ahead and click the approve button up here. And this is going to change that status to planning and send it into our campaign planner view, okay? This campaign planner view shows us all the work that's planned or active or being reviewed. And we can jump into any of these particular campaigns and see those same details that we saw in the holding pen, plus the additional planning information such as our budget and performance, our projects that we're going to be creating, all the assets, etc. If we jump back to our holding pen, we can also reject these campaigns. So if I reject this campaign, I'm going to want to make sure I give a rejection reason. So perhaps we want to say this campaign is outside of our allocated budget for the year. We can go ahead and add that quick note. And when we reject this campaign, that additional detail is going to be included in the rejection email. And how that works is we have an automation in the back end that's looking to see when any of those campaigns change status. And if that campaign status changes to rejected, we're going to send an email to that individual based on the campaign information and the notes that we want to send with that campaign rejection email. I'll go ahead and run this and preview this for you guys here so you can see an example of that email. Yep, so we have the email that goes out, the notes for the requester, and then the campaign details just so that they have the full information should they want to, resubmit that campaign in the future. Additionally, we can request more information about that campaign from the requester. When we click this button, it's going to send a similar email where we're going to be notifying that requester that we have some more questions that we want to ask and we need them to reply to this email with more information. And so as our queue starts to get smaller and smaller, we can feel more confident that what we're putting into our queue is what we actually want to work on and prioritize. This is what it looks like to play traffic controller rather than firefighter for your marketing operation. This is the kind of system that can be built to help your team stop starting projects blind. Leadership stops wondering why their requests aren't getting picked up, and you stop being the bottleneck because the system handles the communication automatically. As always, the template for this system is in my community, the Builders Guild. The link is below in the description where you can grab it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.